Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah ta'ala, every single one of you guys are in the best of health and iman. I haven't seen a lot of you guys for maybe 9 months. So it's very nice to see a lot of your glowing faces sitting here today, looking to benefit. Inshallah ta'ala, my hope is to complete this manzuma, this poem, that is called Al-Asas في المعاملات الجارية بين الناس. Al-Asas, what does Al-Asas mean? Al-Asas means foundation. When it comes to the mu'amalat, the dealings, the financial transactions that occurs between people, بين الناس. Put your hand up if you're a businessman. One. Anyone else? Brothers and sisters, as we're going to come to know in a little while, inshallah ta'ala, this chapter, which is referred to as Al-Mu'amalat, the chapter of buying and selling, is extremely, extremely important. Right? I know some of you guys are shy to put your hands up, but I know there are a lot of traders here who trade when it comes to Forex, who trade when it comes to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, huh? It's doing well at the moment. Shahid min al-kalam, there are a lot of brothers and sisters even now, right, who trade when it comes to some of these electronic finances that you find online. And a lot of the time what tends to happen is the moment we hear something has blown up online, everyone gravitates towards that direction. Let's be honest with ourselves. And then we begin to transact, we begin to trade, right? We begin to have these financial dealings. And unfortunately, because al-mu'amalat is at the end of the books of fiqh. Is it at the beginning or at the end? It's at the end. Maybe not even so right at the end. It is coming to the end of al-fiqh. The scholars, they have this funny joke that they make, right? When it comes to teaching books in al-fiqh. As they begin to teach the books of fiqh, what does it normally start with? Which is the first chapter? Tahara. What's the first chapter of Tahara? Water. Ahsantum. Jayyid. Right? We started with Tahara. Most people, they either drop out before you reach the end of the chapter of Tahara, or at least when you get to what? As-Salah. So the Mashayikh, they would make this joke. Tullab al-Tahara and Salah. The students of Tahara and Salah. Meaning, we don't go past these two chapters. Right? Even when it comes to students of knowledge, my brothers and my sisters, you'll be surprised at how widespread it is. Those who have actually finished books of fiqh from cover to cover. And this is honestly is a deficiency. Why? Because there are so many aspects of our day-to-day interactions and dealings that we need to cover, that we need to learn about. Especially in today's day and age when trading has become extremely easy to do. As we will speak about later as well. Al-al'ab al-elektroniya. Does anyone know what al-al'ab al-elektroniya means? Al-al'ab al-elektroniya. تفضل يا video gaming. صحيح? Video gaming. Youngsters today, they use their parents' bank cards to buy. Right? To buy things online. Am I wrong to say that? They'll use it to buy certain products online, thinking that this is something that is worth tax, but it's not a big deal. وفي أحكام. There are rulings pertaining to this. Like, I'll just get straight into it, inshallah ta'ala. It is a poem, my brothers and my sisters, that is 67 lines of poetry. 67 lines of poetry. And I'm really, really hoping that we can get through it, inshallah ta'ala, in these 4 weeks. I'm only here 4 weeks. So I'm hoping every Wednesday. I know it's the weekday, right? May Allah Azza wa Jal bless every single one of you guys who have made the effort to come here. Some of you guys got schools, some of you guys got uni, some of you guys are coming here after having worked from 9 to 5, making the effort to be here. Barakallahu feekum. So the muqaddimah, in the introduction, the Shaykh, he says, by the way, who's the author of this manzuma? Does anyone know? So we're studying something that we don't even know the author about, brothers. Huh? Did anyone do their research when they saw the title of the poem on the poster? His name is Sheikh Amir Bahjat, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, who is still alive. You type him into YouTube, my brothers and my sisters, he looks very, very young. Very, very young, and he's a teacher in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's masjid. Right? Very young in age, and he looks very young as well. But Allah Azza wa Jal gave him the opportunity to be able to teach in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's masjid. Till this very day, I believe he still teaches in the ma'had of the haram. You must be wondering to yourself, you are probably expecting this individual to be what? Very old in age, gray hairs appearing on his face, in order to be allowed to teach in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's masjid, right? Wallahi, my brothers and my sisters, I honestly put this down to his tawadu, his humility. And perhaps we can take, right, a huge lesson from this. Even though he's reached the qimma, the pinnacle with regards to be able, or should I say, with regards to being in a position or finding a position to teach. Is there anything more honorable than teaching in the Prophet ﷺ's masjid or in Mecca? He's teaching in the masjid next to the Prophet ﷺ's grave, right? And then he's young in age. Remember, he taught the whole of Zad al-Mustaqni' in the Haram, which is a cover-to-cover book in al-fiqh. You know what I put it down to, like I said? His humility. Other sheikhs would turn up at the Haram, right? Even though he's reached the pinnacle when it comes to being in a position to teach, right? You see him just like the rest of the students sitting down and taking notes. Wallahi al-Azim, brothers and sisters. I've studied classes and the Sheikh is sitting there. When Sheikh Abdul Salam al-Shuway'ir, some of you guys may have heard of him, right? One of the very wonderful sheikhs in al-fiqh that you have today was from Riyadh. He would come to the Haram and he's teaching. Sheikh Amir, the author of this manzuma, this poem, is not just sitting at the back. He's sitting at the front taking notes. Right? I remember, subhanAllah, how quickly he would write, taking down whatever the Shaykh is saying. It doesn't matter how knowledgeable you think you've become, right? وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above every individual that possesses knowledge is someone who's more knowledgeable. The moment you begin to think that you have made it, I don't need any more knowledge, that will be the start of your destruction and your downfall, right? Sometimes your classmates may give you a benefit that you've never heard of. Wallahi, brothers, I personally have benefited so much from my classmates. So much. Sometimes you could be an individual who just started practicing or has now only embraced Islam. He sees something or he's heard of something that you haven't heard of. Are you going to start belittling him? Are you going to start looking down on him? Who is he to tell me what is right and what is wrong? And I should have known this. And la ya jama'ah. Right? You guys get a chance. I have this lecture online. It's called Humility and Arrogance. Humility and Arrogance. It's a lecture I gave in Masjid Furqan in Manchester. Right? And I just tried to quote and cite a lot of the statements of Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Taymiyyah, and some of the great scholars of the past with regards to this important topic of humility and arrogance. And I gave a lot of examples of how some of our ulama, right, they would benefit from one another. That's a little benefit that we can take away from the wonderful character of the Shaykh. Wait. In the Muqaddimah, he said, I know it might be a little bit rigid when it comes to the Muqaddimah, but we can take the benefit, inshallah ta'ala, then we will get to the interesting part. I will try to fill it with examples. I'm someone that loves examples, al-furu', Al-fiqhiyya, right? Examples after examples so you understand, inshallah ta'ala. Otherwise, studying a lot of these mutun, these texts, right, without examples is going to make it extremely what? Irrelevant and unrelatable. This is why before I come to the class, I sit down and I take a lot of time out. How can I make this lesson relatable to the people? Does that make sense? Right? In the Muqaddimah he said, حمدا لمن بالحل في البيوع أغنى عباده عن الممنوع. He says, حمدا. If we translate that literally into English, what does it mean? Alhamdu. Oh, praise. Does it really give it its due justice? Huh? The English language, my brothers. Does it give the Arabic language its true justice? It doesn't. It's always deficient. The Arabic language is extremely vast. So it says, all praise to the one. بالحل في البيوع أغنى عباده عن الممنوع. I'm going to come on to that, but let me just quickly translate it literally, this line of poetry. حمدا, all praise to the one. بالحل في البيوع, right? Who has made buying and selling halal. Right? This is the base ruling when it comes to buying and selling. وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعِ. As Allah said. Allah Azza wa Jal has made buying and selling, financial transactions permissible, and we can take a very important legal maxim here. I like legal maxims. Why are legal maxims important? So many, right, shatait, you want to call it that. Different aspects of fiqh, you can bring it under this legal maxim. This legal maxim is so comprehensive that you can take it with you into different chapters of fiqh and then start applying it on juz'iyat, right? Different aspects of fiqh. Does that make sense? But that's a different discussion. I've gone through the 5 leading legal maxims, al-kubra, in a 3-hour course on my YouTube channel. 5 leading legal maxims. There are many legal maxims, but these are the 5 leading legal maxims. And wallahi, it will change your understanding. I can even say it will change your life for the better. And a lot of misunderstandings that one may have, or confusions on issues, he'll be able to what? Bring it under one of these legal maxims. على كل حال. الأصل في المعاملات الإباحة. The asl, the base ruling when it comes to what? Buying and selling is that it is permissible until proven otherwise. Does that make sense? You have legal maxims, you have dawabit, there's furuq وكذا. But put that all to the side. That's a discussion for a different setting. But now, take this and write it down, my brothers and my sisters. The base ruling when it comes to buying and selling, it is permissible until proven otherwise. Does that show that the religion is so rigid and so unfair, so unjust, and always making things difficult for us? As the religion sometimes is portrayed, right? La. It is permissible until proven otherwise. I can do whatever I want when it comes to buying and selling until we have what? An evidence that says, no, you can't do this. Right? Does that make sense? So when you have a contract and you bring it to a sheikh, it is permissible until he finds something that's haram. And the things that are haram are a handful. So why do we now need to revert to haram? Right? Why do we need to revert to haram? The asl is that everything is permissible until you have some of these, and I'm going to come on to it later, inshallah ta'ala. أصول التحريم في البيوع. Right? Which are a handful. The foundations of haram when it comes to buying and selling. They're a handful. أغنى عباده عن الممنوع. He has sufficed his ibad, his servants, right, from that which is haram. Meaning he's given them enough alternatives. He's given them enough alternatives to that which is haram. Right? Quick benefit that we can take from here is, in the madhab of Imam Ahmad rahmatullahi alayhi, they give a lot of emphasis on tasheeh al-uqud. Like if you bring a contract now that may have haram elements in there, they will try to correct it for you, not by, why you misunderstand this? Oh, is it going to give you hila, right? No. Going to give you alternatives, how can we correct it, as opposed to doing ibtal of it, yani falsifying it or making it void altogether. Right? You have so many alternatives. This is what he's trying to say in his first line of portion. طيب. Let me stand over some of the ibarat that require a little bit more attention. Hamdan. What does alhamd mean, my brothers and my sisters? Is it right to just say that alhamd means all praise? This doesn't give it its true justice. Does anyone know what it actually means technically? We read Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen in every rak'ah. What does it mean? Dalla. All praise for Allah. This is the literal English meaning of it. In the Arabic language, the meaning of alhamd is وَصْفُ الْمَحْمُودِ بِالْكَمَالِ مَعَ مَحَبَّةٍ وَتَعْظِيمٍ. It is to attribute completeness to the one who is deserving of all praise, coupled with love and glorification. I'll say that again. It is to attribute completeness to the one who is deserving of all praise, coupled with love and glorification. One of the reasons why I'm mentioning this, my brothers and my sisters, is that so we understand how vast knowledge is. Right? And we can get there. Right? And even when we think that we're getting close to accomplishing or acquiring all of this knowledge, even then you still haven't acquired much. طيب. What does that mean? وصف المحمود مع الكمال وصف المحمود بالكمال مع محبة وتعظيم. To attribute completeness to the one who's deserving all praise. Now we're going to understand the difference between what alhamd and also thana. What does thana mean? Does anyone know? Thana. If I say أنا أثنيت على فلان, I have done thana of so and so. It means I praised him. Good. Does it now mean the exact same thing when Allah Azza wa Jalla says Alhamdu lillahi Rabbil Alameen? And when you now praise something or someone, alhamd here you are praising, but is it the same as now praising anything else? The answer is no, brothers. Right? The answer is no. I like this example here. I believe it was Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen I mentioned it. Right? You know, back in the day, they would have poetry competitions. They would go to the palace, and in these palaces, they would hold competition of poetry. Whoever has the best poetry, he wins. Today, they have something called diss track, right? Everyone disses one another. You guys heard it? Sahih? And then everyone's championing whoever's got the best disses when it comes to... That's something similar. Back in the day, but it's a little bit different. So now there's the competition going on. And he puts couplets together in order to win the competition. Going back to that definition that I mentioned, to attribute completeness to the one who's deserving of all praise, coupled with what? Coupled with what? The praise, and attributing the completeness to Allah, coupled with love and glorification. When we praise Allah, it is done with love and glorification. Let me ask you guys a question. This person who is now praising the king with all of this poetry that he's been writing for the last 364 days or 365 days, just so he can win this pot of money or this prize. Is he doing it with love and glorification? Is he doing it with love and glorification? Or is he just doing that in order to get into his good books or to suck up to him? So he can win his prize that he has. Can you guys see the difference now? But when we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is done with our hearts. with love and veneration and glorification. And the more you learn about Allah Azza wa Jal, the more you will acquire the love of Allah Jalla fi'ala. And the more you are going to be in veneration of Him. لمن بالحل في البيوع, I've already mentioned that important قاعدة, principle, that the asl, the base ruling when it comes to buying and selling, it is impermissible until proven otherwise, right? The base ruling when it comes to buying and selling, that it is impermissible until proven otherwise. Is that right? Did you guys hear what I said? Impermissible until proven. La ya jama'ah. It is halal until proven otherwise. Everything is halal when it comes to buying and selling until what? Proven otherwise. أغنى عباده عن الممنوع. He has what? Suffice his servants with that which is halal. He's given them enough alternatives. This is why, my brothers and my sisters, I don't buy this argument when somebody says, Wallahi, you advise him to leave off the haram that he's engaging in. You know what he says? Wallahi, I don't have another option. Wallahi, I don't buy that, brothers and sisters. As I was walking, I remembered an incident. I believe it was in Australia. Right? No, it wasn't Australia. I believe it was maybe here in the UK. No, it was in the UK. This is before the boycott, huh? This is before the boycott. I don't go to McDonald's now. And even before, we only what? Maybe buy the milkshake or whatever have you, or the McFlurry. Long story cut short, it was very late, I remember, and we were driving past. I think I was on the edge of close to the motorway or something like that. And I went past it. And as I went through the driveway, there was a brother there. One of our Somali brothers, he was working there. And I started speaking to him in Somali. I said, Mesha Mahakani. Right, what brought you here? Well, I remember he said something I'll never forget. He said, it is the law of the land. It is the law of the land, and someone has to pay the bills. Right? Someone has to pay the bills. And I used that as an opportunity to perhaps give him some advice. Shahid min al-kalam. This argument of, I don't have an alternative, wallahi, brothers and sisters, it is a defeatist mentality. Here he's saying, أغنى عباده عن الممنوع. Allah Azza wa Jalla sufficed His ibad from that which is haram. You have so many alternatives. Right? Hasan al-Basri, rahmatullahi alayhi, says something very, very powerful. And every now and again I might give a little reminder when I'm speaking about some of these technicalities. You know, he said, brothers and sisters, قرأت في 90 موضعا أن الله قدر الأرزاق. I read in 90 places that Allah Azza wa Jal has written down has decreed your provision for you. 90 places. I read 90 places that Allah Azza wa Jal has what? Has decreed your provision. وقرأت في موضع واحد. I read in just one place. Right? أن الشيطان يخوف أولياءه. That the shaitan, he scares the people. Does anyone know which verse that is? What's that one place in which the shaitan, he scares the people with poverty? أحسنت. Who said that? جزاك الله خير. شيخ ليبان صوت. الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم الفحشاء. The shaitan, he scares you with poverty. You're going to die. Right? You are going to starve. Right? You don't have any alternative. It's just this and nothing else. So you know what Hasan al-Basri mentioned? Right? فصدقنا قول الكاذب في موضع واحد. We ended up believing this liar shaitan, the devil, right, in this one place, and we ended up disbelieving in all of those other places in which the truthful one decrees our provision for us, or has promised us our provision. Right? When you just think about it, my brothers and my sisters, it honestly changes the way you look at Allah Azza wa Jal. Does that make sense? Allah, I can sit here till tomorrow, brothers. Give you guys scenarios after scenarios after scenarios. People who left haram for his sake, Allah Azza wa Jal always gave them that which is better. The latest video on my YouTube channel, I mentioned it right at the end, some stories. Both of the incidents I mentioned were from Leicester. I even speak about Melbourne Road, of a brother who lived there. Last lecture that the brother uploaded on my channel. It is called something like leaving it for the sake of Allah, something like that. And I took some examples of Surah Al-Kahf and Surah Maryam and the common denominators and features between the two, of how they both, right, the two that we are speaking about in both Surah Al-Kahf and Surah Maryam, they left for the sake of Allah, and Allah always gave them that which is better. And my favorite hadith is, you don't leave something for the sake of Allah, except Allah will always give you that which is better. إِنَّكَ لَن تَدْعَ شَيْءٍ اتِّقَاءً لِلَّهِ إِلَّا أَعْطَاكَ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا. That is the promise from Allah. Then he said, صلى على النبي منتخبه قال لنا من يرد الله به خيرا يفقهه وجاء عمر حصر البيوع في الذي في الفقه في الذي الفقه درى. And then he begins to what? Send his salutations upon the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. صلى على النبي منتخبه, يعني the chosen one. Does anyone know when we say sallallahu ala Muhammad, what does salah ala, what does it actually mean? Does anyone know? No. Ahsant. Good. Anyone else? There are many explanations and interpretations with regards to what does as-salah mean. And then the meaning varies depending on who it is attributed to. When it's attributed to the angels, when it's attributed to Allah. So, طيب, we're going to quickly just mention this, inshallah ta'ala. As-salah in the language, it means what? A-du'a. Right? And when when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send salutations upon the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what this actually means, brothers and sisters, is كما قال أبو العالي, you can find in Sahih Bukhari, هو ثناء الله على عبده في الملأ الأعلى. We are calling unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? As the brother mentioned, to raise the rank of our Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then begins to praise who? The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the congregation and the assembly of the angels. Does that make sense? No. قال لنا, he, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, said to us, من يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه أي في الدين. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for, he gives them fiqh in the religion. What does fiqh mean? The brother said understanding, is that correct? Didn't we mention earlier that fiqh means tahara and salah and whatever have you? We need to know this, brothers and sisters. We are studying fiqh. What does fiqh mean? Does anyone know? In the language, it means, brothers and sisters, it means fahm, to understand something. To understand something. And it's mentioned in the Quran, this particular meaning of al-fiqh. قالوا يا شعيب ما نفقه كثيرا مما تقول. أو شعيب, يعني the people of Shu'aib, they said to him, oh Shu'aib, we don't have fiqh of what you are saying. Meaning we don't understand what you're saying. Does that make sense? Also, رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني إيش يفقه قولي. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he made dua to Allah Azza wa Jal because he wasn't able to articulate himself properly. Right? He made dua to Allah, يفقه قولي, so that they are able to have fiqh of what I'm saying, meaning they're able to understand what I'm saying. That's what it means in the language. What is the technical meaning of al-fiqh? What is it? We can say that there is what? A general. You want to leave? Huh? You have to answer what? Hey, go on. العلم بالأحكام الشرعية العملية. We're going to come on to that. طيب. There is a general meaning of fiqh, and there's also what? A specific meaning of fiqh. Huh? There is a general meaning to fiqh, and there's also what? A specific meaning to fiqh. Am I getting too technical, brothers? Should I just have skimmed through this muqaddimah and then gone straight into the interesting parts? Huh? I think it's important, right? Like, I'm going to try and be quick, inshallah ta'ala. Allah, I was hoping to. Time's already running out. I was hoping to cover 20 lines of poetry today, but I'm still on number 2. Because it's 67, right? Or was it 76? 67. Like, the general meaning of fiqh, it is فهم معاني الأمر والنهي ليستبصر الإنسان في دينه. As Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi mentioned. It is to have understanding of Allah's commandments and prohibitions, so that one is able to gain insight of the religion, or in his religion. Does that make sense? The commandments of Allah, there are many commandments, there are many prohibitions, right? Allah Azza wa Jalla created us in order to worship Him, and you cannot worship Allah Azza wa Jalla accordingly unless you what? You learn your religion, right? So when the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is saying, مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِخَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, whoever Allah Azza wa Jalla wants good for, He gives them what? Understanding the religion. Understanding the commandments and the prohibitions. This clearly shows you, my brothers and sisters, Allah Azza wa Jalla wanted good for that person. And Ibn Taymiyyah even then mentions the mafhum of it. He said, مَنْ أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, whoever Allah wants good for, He gives them what? Understanding the religion. And then he says, right? وَمَنْ لَمْ يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ لَمْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِخَيْرًا. Whoever Allah did not give fiqh to, He did not want good for him. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the understanding. And the fact that Allah Azza wa Jalla brought us here today, my brothers and my sisters, right, on a Wednesday evening, while people are working, while people are busy, it clearly shows that Allah wanted some good for us. Right? He gave us the opportunity to be here, to learn about our religion. Like when you think about it, my brothers and my sisters, and you compare the situation of someone who's studying his deen to someone who's maybe not doing so, the majority of the people, my brothers and my sisters, what are they actually really busying and occupying themselves with? Right? All sorts of stuff, my brothers and my sisters. A lot of you guys, I can see, mashallah, you're young in age. What are other youngsters actually really doing? Right? So it should be a cause of one thanking Allah Azza wa Jalla and being grateful to Him. Right? So that is what the general technical meaning, right? It is a lot more general than the specific one that I'm going to mention in a moment. So what does it mean now? The general technical meaning of fiqh? Huh? فهم معاني الأمر والنهي ليستغفر الإنسان في دينه كما قال ابن تيمية. It is to understand the commandments and what the prohibitions of Allah Jalla fi ula. You know, brothers and sisters, I think it's worth mentioning here. I mention this all the time. Sometimes when we hear the term, because of this liberal society that we're in, that's extremely anti-religion. When we hear commandments, prohibitions, it may come across as negative at times. Am I correct to say that? For those who study in university, when you look at the liberal mindset, the secular mindset, when you look at also feminism, the moment we hear what? Commandments and prohibitions, it begins to make them feel extremely uneasy. Just look at liberalism for a moment. Live and let be. Everyone's entitled to do as they wish. Everyone is entitled to do as they wish. If someone does a certain something, you are not allowed to say nothing to that person. Having said that, amongst them, they all agree unanimously that there has to be what? Hudud. There has to be a line that is drawn. Because if we go up with liberating ourselves, live and let be, then where do you draw the line of what? one can do and what one can't do. This is why you have rules, you have laws. I'm going to quickly mention this example. I remember one of the Kuwaiti Mashaykh mentioned it. I really liked it. You know what he said? If a woman walks outside now without hijab, and you say to her, go put your hijab on, as a father, as a brother, someone else turns around and he says, Akhi, mind your own business. Live and let be. Everyone's entitled to do as they wish. This is what they say over here as well, right? Huh? Live and let be. Everyone's entitled to do as they wish. طيب. A woman can go outside without hijab. Haya? What if she wanted now to go outside completely naked? Live and let be. Who are you to talk to her and say that she shouldn't? And she should. But this goes against the law of the land, sir. Why can't she now just walk around without wearing any clothes? Lesh. You have a problem with me saying put your hijab on, but when it comes to her walking outside without any clothes, you have a problem. ليش؟ ايش الفرق؟ This is why my brothers and sisters, every single ideology that you're going to come across, no, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here. Huh? Every single ideology other than the ideology that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down for every single one of us. And I'm not just talking about the Muslims. Right? Every other ideology, you are going to what? Find contradictions and discrepancies. Right? You're going to find holes within that narrative. Where do you draw the line of what is right and what is wrong? Right? They themselves can't agree amongst themselves. Because this will go against the core of your ideology, which is live and let be. Isn't it so, Muhammad? Yeah. Yes, I'm not going to say anything else because I was about to get extremely colorful. So that is what the general technical meaning. And then you have the specific technical meaning, which is what the fiqh that we are studying right now. Over time, my brothers and my sisters, the term fiqh became very much associated with what we are studying. Tahara, salah, fasting, and so on and so forth. Buying and selling, وهكذا. General technical meaning, then you have what? The specific technical meaning. Now, this is going to get very interesting now. He says, وجاء عن عمر حصر البيوع في الذي الفقه درى. He says he has been reported and attributed to Umar ibn Khattab رضي الله تعالى عنه حصر البيوع, to limit transacting, trading, buying and selling في الذي الفقه درى, limiting, right, this whole concept of buying and selling, my brothers and my sisters, to only those who have fiqh. What is this narration that has been attributed to Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu? You can find it in the Jami' of At-Tirmidhi rahmatullahi alayhi. You know what he said, my brothers and my sisters? This may shock some of you guys. لا يبيع في سوقنا إلا من تفقه في الدين. One should not trade in our markets unless he has fiqh of the religion. Everyone should write that down. لا يبيع في سوقنا إلا من تفقه في الدين. One should not trade in our markets unless he has what? Fiqh of the religion. Imagine that, my brothers and sisters. Now compare that to the reality on the ground. Why do you think Umar al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu would say that, my brothers and sisters? Why? Come on, brothers. I want some interaction. Why would Umar al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu say, you cannot trade and transact in our market unless you have fiqh? Say it again. أحسنت. To avoid haram transaction. أحسنت. Every one of those the brothers that answered was correct. Right? What happens now, my brothers and my sisters, that people are ignorant? Put the issue of buying and selling to the side. People are ignorant and then they start speaking about the religion. Or they start conducting themselves in however way they think to be fit. What happens, my brothers and my sisters? There is chaos. Fawda. Right? Isn't this exactly what we see on social media today? Every Don, Dick and Harry comes along and starts speaking about the religion. It is chaos. Twitter is a platform for anyone and everyone. Sorry, X. Huh? For anyone and everyone to come along and say whatever he thinks to be fit. Then you find chaos. Likewise, my brothers and my sisters, when it comes to the markets. Back in the day, the market was nothing like what we have today. Right? You were able to control it. But now, it's a lot more difficult. الشاهد من الكلام عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله تعالى عنه uttered those noble words. Right? لا يبيع في سوقنا إلا من تفقه في الدين. One should not trade and transact in our market unless he has what? Knowledge of the religion. Like he is competent when it comes to trading. He has the knowledge. So you don't end up dragging, as the brother mentioned, prohibited elements into the market. You don't end up dragging riba, right? Usury, interest. And by the way, brothers and sisters, I don't like these English terms. Interest, usury are very, very specific. And when we are going to study riba, you will see how much more comprehensive the chapter of riba is. Most of us may know that riba is simply nothing more than, right? I borrowed him money and I said to him, brother, it's going to be a long time before you pay back. Make sure you give me 20 pounds on top. For all this time that I've waited. That's riba. It's very clear riba. Right, let me ask you a question. If this individual says, take this 1,000 pounds, but when you pay me back in 12 months' time, I want a pair of Nike trainers so I can wear it on Eid. On top of that, ma alaikum. On top of the money he's already going to give me. Yeah, he's not giving me money, just give me a pair of trainers. Jordans. Balenciagas.
You said that social media is a chaos and also the market is a chaos. What do we do now that those two chaos?
I'm going to come to it. But what about this question I just asked you guys? I want a pair of trainers on top of it. It's not money, though.
It's still riba. Taking the benefit.
But it's not money, though. Does it have to be money? Or does it have to be something that أحسنت منفعة كل قرض جر منفعة فهو ربا. Every right قرض loan that you give out and then you ask for something that carries benefit on top of this will be considered riba. Even the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he talked about the riba, he says من زاد أو استزاد في القرآن. Whoever asks for more, right? And this person is what? Or offers now to give more, then this person is falling into riba. آخذ المعطي في سواء. شاهد من الكلام. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, right? I deal with a lot of businessmen. They come to me with their contracts. You will be surprised, brothers and sisters. This guy is making millions. And he has no idea whatsoever that he is engaging in haram. And you know why they're actually coming to me now? Or they're coming to someone else at this moment in time, Talifun Lesh? Even though he's made all of these millions, he knows that there is something wrong. He feels unease. Right? It doesn't sit right with him. He's making all of this money, but there's something within him that, right, is making him feel uncomfortable. And this is what ma'asi does, my brothers and sisters. Sins, if your heart is still alive, because your heart may reach a point where it becomes completely dead. But to those who are still alive, right, their hearts are still breathing, they begin to feel a certain way. Like in al-khalal, the khata here, my brothers and my sisters, this individual, right, should have asked all of these questions before he started trading. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? This brings me on to a very important point that I have to mention. There is a portion of knowledge that everyone needs to learn. And then there is a portion of knowledge that you don't have to learn until there comes that time when you're going to be directly engaging in it. I'll give you guys an example. Salah and Tahara. Is this from the first category or the second category? First. Why? Because everyone here, unless of course you are a young child, but like, everyone here is religiously obliged, is mukallaf. And you are praying and you're doing tahara. And then the month of Ramadan comes, you're fasting. If you're religiously obliged, you are mukallaf. You have to what? You have to learn about it. Like, when it comes to Hajj, it's Hajj period now. Is it correct for me now to say that it is wajib, mandatory upon every single one of you guys to learn about Hajj? Is it?
No.
Is it like the same as Tahara and Salah? Does that make sense, my brothers and sisters? However, now, you are capable. Some of you guys might not even be capable, but you have the money now. Right? You are from those, man istata'a ilayhi sabila. And you are now going on this journey to perform Hajj. You have to learn about it. Or the least, you should have with you someone that is able to enlighten you about how to perform Hajj in the proper way. Likewise, hey, my brothers and my sisters, buying and selling. You want to go into the world of trading, buying and selling. You have to learn. And if you feel like you just don't have the ability to learn, for whatever reason it might be, there's always an alternative. And that is, right, go to someone who's able to enlighten you about this contract that you're about to get involved in. You know how businessmen, they pay a lot of money to seek legal advice. So either go to a solicitor or sit with him for an hour. You think the hours are free. It's not. Like, why don't you also go do this with the Islamic side of things? You have to do that as well. This is in fact more of an obligation than seeking legal advice. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? I'm nearly done, guys. I'm going to go on for another 5 minutes and we're done. Right? There's even a line of poetry. Wow. It says, وَيَحْرُمُ إِقْدَامٌ مِنَ الْمُكَلَّفِ عَلَى أُمُورِ الْحُكْمَهَا لَمْ يَعْرِفِ. It is haram upon an individual to go forth in doing something that he has no knowledge of. And this has been unanimously agreed upon by the scholars. It is haram upon an individual now to go forth in doing something and he has no knowledge of it. على أمور الحكمها لم يعرف. Right? Let alone speaking about that issue without knowledge. All of these guys who trade in Bitcoin, all of these individuals who go into Forex, all of these individuals who do whatever else it might be, are they doing the right thing in learning about what they are about to embark upon, my brothers and sisters? This is when what we have just mentioned now comes in extremely, extremely handy. So if somebody may turn around now and say, oh, Wallah, I didn't know. I didn't even know that I had to learn about, right, buying and selling before I actually went forth to embark upon this journey. I'll tell you guys something, subhanAllah, that I took from Sheikh Abdul Salam Shwaya. It really struck a chord when I heard this, right? Because it was something, subhanAllah, that I always felt, but it was a theory that, you know, within me that I really couldn't substantiate. Maybe that's the best way to put it. People engaging in haram transactions and they didn't know. And then the opportunity arrived now to invest in that company. Should I invest? Should I not? Right? He's been dealing all of these years with haram, but he didn't know. Is it, you know, a good idea to really now try and fix all of this garbage that he got himself involved in, while at the same time it looks extremely lucrative? Speaking to myself here, brothers, huh? Sisters. When we're studying this with Shaykh al-Islam Shu'a'i, he says something, right? It's very, very powerful and touching. He said, someone may not know, and he's been dealing with riba, or he's been dealing with haram all of these years. This person now may repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the door of repentance is always open. Sahih? The door of repentance is always open. طيب. From this point on, what do we say with regard to, and by the way, he's now removed all of the haram. Huh? We're talking about now, as we move forward, we're going to deal with this buying and selling, this transacting in the halal way. You can still make a lot of money, but this individual now, who's been dealing all of these years with haram and whatever have you. You know what he said? In these kind of situations, the barakah, blessings, has been sucked out of it. Right? This particular project, the barakah has been sucked out of it. In the eyes of Allah, he's free. Everything's fine because he's repented to Allah. But because of this business now that has been in and out of haram, the barakah's, is sucked out of it. Right? He's not enforcing upon anyone not to work with this individual, but look what he's saying. And then remind me of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he said, البيعان بالخيار ما لم يتفرقا فإن صدقا وبينا بورك لهما في بيعهما وإن كذبا وكتما محقت بركة بيعهما. Right? When two people are transacting with one another and they are truthful and transparent, Allah puts barakah in it. Truth, being truthful and being transparent, is it pleasing to Allah? Of course it's pleasing to Allah. Look what it says, وَإِن كَذَبَا وَكَتَمَا مُحِقَتْ بَرَكَةُ بِيعِهِمَا. But if they lie to one another, and they conceal and they're not transparent with one another, the barakah is going to be what? Sucked out of it. مُحِقَتْ بَرَكَةُ بِيعِهِمَا. Right? That's what it does. Now, some of you guys are probably going to ask me, what is the solution for this individual? He wants the barakah. Perhaps it might be a good idea to really just change the essence of what he's doing. Meaning, let me elaborate. Change the name of it, right? Open a new bank account, right? You may still have the same business idea that's working, but try to change within it as much as you can. Does that make sense? In order to keep that barakah flowing. And the last line of poetry says, فَهَاكَ مِنْ أَحْكَامِهَا الْأَسَاسَ يَا رَبِّ فَاقْبَلْ وَانْفَعَنَّ النَّاسَ. It says, فَهَاكَ مِنْ أَحْكَامِهَا. These are the rulings when it comes to buying and selling. Al-asasa, the foundations, right, of financial transactions. Foundation, al-asas, as I mentioned before, it is the foundation of financial transactions. After this, of course, my brothers and my sisters, you're not going to become a mufti. I don't want to see anyone here taking people's contracts and saying this is correct and calm down. We want to walk away with a foundation. And then as we study more and more, we build on it. Ya Rabbi faqbal wanfa'anna an-nasa. He says, Ya Allah, accept it from me. And make it a cause of benefit for the people. Right? My brother and my sister, I apologize. I went maybe a little bit over the time. And it really didn't cover what I wanted to cover today. But inshallah ta'ala, next week, we will move a little bit quicker, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. We want to go through next week, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, the definition of transactions, the pillars of it, right? The conditions of it. And I'm going to be, inshallah ta'ala, talking extensively about each condition, right? While I fill it up with examples. Have you guys heard of something called storage hunters? Storage hunters.
No.
Have you guys heard of something called The Amazon Magic Box.
Yeah.
What is it called? Magic Box,
Yeah,
right?
basically what they do is they put a bunch of stuff in a box and send it to you. They pay X amount of money for it.
We're going to speak about that, inshallah ta'ala.
Mystery box, yeah.
We're going to speak a little bit about, inshallah ta'ala, video gaming, buying bits and bobs of it. Huh? Oh. Huh? Well, I'm funny, Leon, because if I start, then that means I'm going to have to. Huh? Like, inshallah ta'ala, from next week, we will do a little bit more. Was it boring, brothers and sisters? Wallah, I honestly didn't think anybody would turn up. I thought, number one, it's Wednesday. Number two is about buying and selling. And me personally, because I'm teaching different things in different places and I've taught quite a number of things in this masjid, I just wanted to go through something different, right? So I can personally benefit as well. Was it too technical what I spoke about today, or was everything understood? It's broken down. Well, easy to understand. It's easy to understand. Have you studied buying and selling before? Studying with who? Masjid? Ustadh Ivan. Allah bless him.
Yeah. So you know when the one who fixes is wrong in the business, his barakah gets sucked out. Is that one of the maxims?
No. One of the maxims that I mentioned was al-aslu fil buyu' al-hil. The base ruling when it comes to buying and selling, that it is permissible until proven otherwise. Does that make sense? What I mentioned is something that I heard from a sheikh. So perhaps take into consideration, you can see that it has some sort of substance based on the hadith that I mentioned. Like not so long ago, I told a businessman who, I don't want to go into the ins and outs of it, but he kind of like needs to just, because it's one of those things that you can easily just change a lot of the stuff that you're doing. Told him, change your bank account, change your name, right? Just restart. Right? People know you, right? They're still going to come. Huh? وهكذا.
Is this just in business? Is it just in
No,
business?
it could be like what I just mentioned now with the barakah. No. Like when it comes to haram, my brothers and my sisters, it could be whatever it might be. When it involves haram, even in your marriage. Right? I have it's not a course, but a lecture online. It's called The 7 Commandments of a Successful Marriage. Number 1 was what? Your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you start engaging in haram, even in your marriage, right? Wallahi, brothers and sisters, you will see what? The barakah gets sucked out of it, and you will see all sorts of things happening within inside of your marriage that is not pleasing to the eye. I always mention this, what? The triangle theory, not the three Mason series, huh? Right? What is the triangle theory? Who's at the top? Allah. Who do you have on the two corners? The husband and the wife. Look at it again. The more they do that which is pleasing to Allah, what happens? They get closer to Allah, and even the distance between them becomes shorter. Meaning they get closer to Allah and they get closer between themselves. And when they do something now that is displeasing to Allah, what happens? They become more distant from Allah, and what happens also? They, right, become very distant from one another. Does that make sense, my brothers and sisters? So haram doesn't only destroy your business, it destroys your life. Look at it like that. Allah has given you so many halal options. Why are you trying to do haram? But you know, sometimes because we don't learn about our religion, we don't even know what the halal options are. Does anyone else have any questions? نعم ويحرم إقدام من المكلف على أمور حكمها لم يعرف.
I asked earlier about the chaos of social media and the chaos of the market. What shall we do now that these two have come together?
Okay, طيب. So you have the chaos of social media that I talked about, and also the chaos within the markets. يعني when you don't know how to transact يعني in light of the Sharia, you're going to drag riba to others. And you're going to drag, right, that which is displeasing to Allah to others. The most we can do in this kind of situation, my brothers and sisters, we refrain from it and we try to do what we can to the best of our ability that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To learn. right? So we can at least save ourselves and perhaps those around us, right? As for changing, right, the whole buying and selling scene, that's may well be extremely difficult, but we have to fear Allah to the best of our ability. فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم وما أمرتكم به من شيء فأتوا منه ما استطعتم. Whatever I commanded you with it, try to fulfill it to the best of your ability. Any other questions, brothers? You know, for next week's sisters, inshallah, if you guys have any questions, you can send it up. Or unless there's like a telephone line that you can message. Any other questions, brothers? Or you guys gonna grab me right after class and start asking questions? No, ask it now, brothers, so everyone else benefits from it as well. There's no shyness. We will all benefit from one another.
Back to the same thing.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you have like a bicycle or you have a hand, something that you use for haram, that the barakah gets stripped out of it. But you have to change some things in it, some pitches in it, so then it gets put back.
Okay, so what are you using with this bike? You're using this bicycle now to go back and forth to whatever you're doing, right?
So you said that even in the marriage, you gave the example of the marriage thing. But what about like,
You want to get rid of the wife? Huh? No. Yeah.
Yeah, so like let's say, I don't know, it could be clothes, it could be, I don't know, but is it everything? Is it like general? It's not general.
Well, I should. You have to make the example a lot more clearer. If you're saying, what exactly are you doing with the bicycle?
Drug deal.
Well, forget the bicycle. I mean, the whole thing is. Yeah, if you're using something now, to disobey, we're going to come on to something later, which is using certain things now, right, which is permissible within itself to do haram with. For example, now, let me quickly mention a lighter. A lighter, brothers. Is it haram? To buy a lighter.
No.
Within itself, it's haram. No, it's not. Right? But when you now use the lighter, smoke, right? This now becomes a problem. And the one selling this lighter to someone who he knows that is going to use it for haram, I'm going to inshallah ta'ala come into that, the different scenarios and whatever have you. It's mainly 3 different scenarios that we can use with regards to the situation. It's very different to when a jilbabi walks into the shop and she says, can I have a lighter? Is she like the same as the one who walks into the shop and he's smelling of cigarettes? Here now the ruling differs with regards to what you as a seller or as a shopkeeper can actually sell. We'll come on to that inshallah. Any other questions, brothers? Fadal.
Let's say if you've basically bought anything in the past from haram, and then you are in the sirat mustaqim now. Now this obviously thing that you left behind, you still have in your life. Then does that mean that you have to get rid of it, or you have to give it to charity, or you can repent and
Seems like a lot of us are speaking in coded language. And it depends what this thing actually is.
No, I'm saying that, for example, in the past you were involved in haram, and you bought something with that money, and you still have this property in your possession. Now you've left the haram, and you continue your life in the obedience of Allah. But you still have this property that you got from the haram. Does that mean that this is still obviously part of you, or you have to remove it out of your life in order?
What are you speaking about, the house?
No, I'm saying anything. It could be a car, it could be clothes.
Wallah, Habib, it's one of those things that really varies and differs from person to person, from time to time, and also from possession to possession. So it's very hard to just really give a general answer for what we ask. Yeah? If someone's bought a house now, I'm going to tell him to go and sell it. Right? And his parents, maybe 10 years ago, or maybe 30 years ago, they bought a house on riba, and now he's basically got it. I'm going to tell him now, sell it. And if it can get very deep, my brothers and my sisters. And it wouldn't be right in every case this person only. يعني, any other questions, brothers? Allah.
What about the case of credit cards? Agreeing that you explain that to us?
We'll come on to that inshallah ta'ala when we come to the part of, right, al-i'anatu ala al-ithm. There's a part here where we speak about, right, aiding in evil or engaging in something that is mukhtalat, for example. There is some evils to it, and then there's some good to it, and so on and so forth. That's right, yeah?
Mentioned Forex.
These brothers. Well, with all the different research papers that I've come across, right, there's a lot of things that is wrong with Forex. And Forex has different themes that come under it. Huh? I will refer you guys to a 3 hours, I think it was, or maybe 2 hours, I can't remember. I have a good friend of mine, his name is Ustadh Muhammad Abdul Rahman. Right, he did some good research on it, and it came up to 2 hours. So if you're looking for a 2-minute or a 30-second answer, I can't give you that, brothers. I suggest you watch that if you're extremely passionate and interested in the issues of Forex. They did a pretty good job. There's another video as well, I forgot the name of it. Inshallah ta'ala.
What's his name?
Forex. His name is not Forex, but Muhammad Abdul Rahman.
What the brother's name? What's his
His
name?
name is Muhammad Abdul Rahman. Muhammad Abdul Rahman. And you type into YouTube Forex, it should come up. And if you can't find it, it's on the Dar es Salaam, West London, Dar es Salaam Cultural Masjid in West London. It's on their YouTube channel. Anyone else, brothers? I'm going to take 2 more and then we're done.
The shopkeeper, for example, you said that
You guys are getting very excited now. Hey, go on. We're going to come on to that, inshallah ta'ala. That is something that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, it's actually a topic that I really like. Selling something to someone who's going to use it for haram. Or sometimes you think, oh, there's a possibility that he might use it for haram. And sometimes you don't know what he's going to use it for. There's different scenarios, inshallah ta'ala, which will come on to you. Last question, brothers. Tafadhal.
You mentioned something before about giving a loan to a friend and then saying something like, I don't want money back, I just want to
Or night traders.
What about if the shoe or the item that you want in return is cheaper than the loan that you gave them? Is that still
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like I've given you 1,000 and I told you, give me back. A pair of shoes. Like yesterday, I took my little sister and I bought her £95 trainers. Right? Teenagers, isn't it? They want a specific trainer. Ala kulli hal, it's £1,000, but this is £95. If I said I want basically these trainers back, still manfa. I remember, subhanAllah, many years ago, right, there was this scenario where a businessman came up to me and he said, I operate in Hajj and Umrah. I operate in Hajj and Umrah. I need a cash injection at this moment in time, and I don't have any money. What I can say to some of my customers now is, right, give me, let's just say the Hajj package was £6,000. Let's just say the Hajj package was £6,000. He needs a cash injection. I need this money right now, right? I ask this individual now to give me that lump sum of money, and then later on, I'll give you some free visas. Give me this loan now, and I'll give you free visas later on. What do you guys think? Sorry? Yeah, these visas, they are valuable, brothers. Maybe one visa at the time was being sold for like what, £500 or £600. So it doesn't necessarily have to actually be what something that is in coins or in money or in paper. No.
If you take a loan from a friend, then it's a profit. Can you split the profit?
Sorry?
Can you divide the profit and give I don't know.
Like if someone now you give a loan to,
Get a loan from you like
Uh-huh.
300. After a year, I give you 600. Like I make a profit of 300. Can I split the profit into two?
so he basically gave you a loan, and you have taken this loan and you started what? You started making business with it.
Yeah.
And then he says to you, whatever I'm giving you this loan.
I said to him,
Yeah.
whatever I get, I'll make 50-50. Like split the profit. 50 yours, 50 mine. Is that okay?
Okay, so let me get it straight, right? You have, let's call your friend Muhammad. And you, what's your name, brother?
Ivan.
Liban. Liban, you take this individual, give me £10,000. I'm going to what? Make money with it. I'm going to make a business with it. Whatever I make from it, I'm going to what?
Split into half.
I'm going to split into half. Shuf Habibi. There's two things here. There's two things here. You have something called Bay' al-Mudaraba. A transaction or this kind of business agreement called al-Mudaraba. Although we're going to go into a whole different like Bay' al-Mudaraba. What is Bay' al-Mudaraba? Bay' al-Mudaraba is where I have the money, you have the skills. We agree there and then, whatever money that I make, right, we're going to split it 50-50. He doesn't know how to do carpentry, for example. You have all the skills, you know how to make everything run, but you need £10,000 in order to kickstart your business. This is called Bay' al-Mudaraba, and this is fine. But when this individual now says, look, I'm giving you 10,000, or you say to him now, I'm going to give you money on top. Does that make sense? Here, he's loaning you, but he's still going to end up what? Getting money on top of his loan that he is lending out to you. And this is what an interest-based loan that you, whether he agrees with it or you agree with it, exactly the same. This is why the Messenger ﷺ said, فَمَنْ زَادَ أَوْ ازْتَزَادَ فَقَدْ أَرْبَى. Whoever giveth more or requests more, it works both ways. Does that make sense? Fancy.
Yeah.
Huh?
Let's hear it.
So I gave you an alternative, right, of that surah to this haram model that you asked me about.
But at the end of the day, he'll make more than what he gives me.
Yeah, that's
He gives me like 300.
no.
After the profit, I give him 600.
Yeah. This is because we have a qaida when it comes to, right, buying and selling, which is al-kharaj bil-dhaman or al-ghunm bil-ghurm. What does that actually mean? That you are not entitled to profit if you're not ready to take the risk. Does that make sense? You are not entitled to profit if you are not ready to take the risk. So this person is not entitled to that. Is that more clear now? This person is giving you a loan. And then you're saying to him, look, the incentive is, you give me the loan, I'll give you money on top. This is the clearest forms of riba. But if you now ask him to become your business partner, he has the money, you have the skills. This would be what called Bay' al-Mudaraba. In that case, it would be correct. Does that make sense? Clear now, Fanti? Now everyone's going to start asking questions now about business models and whatever have you had.
If you borrowed money to somebody and you didn't want anything from them, so you just borrowed the money and then you want your money back. If they, out of the goodness of their
If
heart,
they give it out of their own goodwill, ما في مشكلة. And that's something that the Messenger ﷺ done. He gave something that which is better. It could be better, it could be something that he gave out of his own goodwill, as long as he did not stipulate that at the beginning. If you or him stipulate that at the beginning, or even if you wink, huh? That might stop. Bro, the last two questions. I think Abdulaziz wants one question. Hey, follow.
Then they have to specify that it's gifts. If, for example, you give back 1,000.
Yeah, he specifies that, look, this is, something out of my own goodwill that I'm giving you. ما في مشكلة.
You have to.
No, like he didn't ask for it, and then he wanted, okay, what's this extra money that has come about? Goes, okay, هلا جزاك الله خير. Huh? Thanks, son.
I wanted to ask if someone loans me £1,000 and I need to give them back the 1,000, but I don't have the exact 1,000. They say I have shoes that are £100 worth, exactly £100, and I have £90 cash. If I give them the £90 cash and £100 shoes,
Yeah.
it's a total of 1,000. Is that okay?
Yeah, ما في مشكلة. He agrees with it, and then you guys have done تقويم of that. What does تقويم mean in English language? Yeah, you valued it. You valued it at this amount, and he's happy to take that. ما في مشكلة. He agrees with it. The issue is when it is more, and this is stipulated, and he's expecting this. That's when it becomes a problem. Brothers, we've taken a whole chapter, alhamdulillah, at least the whole chapter of loans, right? And when it comes to riba and whatever have you, yeah, us brothers, from what we took today, anyone going to go say, Maslama, and now we're done. Yeah.
You know, Mubarak, doesn't the person get a person lending, doesn't he get a profit from the business?
So this is not lending now. They are going into a business partnership together. Someone has the money, right? He's a cash cow. He has the money. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? He is someone that carries money with him. Huh? In order to start this business, you can't just, you have to start it with money. This guy has the skills, right? He has the skills. You guys reach an agreement. I put the £10,000 down and I have my skills, 50-50. This is not a loan anymore. This is now a business partnership. This is sharika. Does that make sense? This is no longer a loan anymore. Loan means, right? It's min uqud al-infaq. You give someone something, he's going to have to give it back to you. Here, if you make a loss, he's going to bear the loss and you're going to bear the loss as well. Does that make sense?
So it's jaiz.
Yeah, it's right. No. This is called bay' al-mudaraba. We're going to come to sharikat, inshallah. Yeah? Anyone else, brothers? I'm going to listen. Sorry? Sorry? If he is the cause of you losing the money.
If the guy with the skill
Yeah.
loses money, does he owe the...
No, because his share is like if you guys have made money now, right? If you guys have made money, after 1 year, for example, the guy with the skills and then the guy who injected that money, you have what? £10,000 capital. So here, you've made another £10,000. Right, and now you put the £20,000 back into the business. It's 50-50, sir. Whatever this guy put in, and then his skills, which is what, 10,000 plus his skills. And then now you have an extra 10,000 that you guys are working on. That would be, that would be distributed what? Proportionally. Does that make sense? He's lost everything now. How much does the guy with the skills need to pay?
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to say this again. This is why we're getting too ahead of ourselves. Huh? طيب. Let's just say me and Ustadh Liban, we have what? We want to do bay' al-mudaraba. I'm someone that has the skills. He's got the money. Right? 100% of this business consists of what? His 10,000 and my skills. We are agreeing on a 50% profit share. 50-50 between me and him. Are we clear so far? It's a 50-50 business. He has the money, I have the skills. Are you guys with me? Like, alhamdulillah, we had a glorious year. Right? We made £10,000. So we have the capital of 10,000 that we put into the business. And then my skill. It is 50-50 now, right? Me and him are half part ownership. This 10,000 that's gone back into the business. Unfortunately, this year we had a very bad year and we ended up losing all of the money. Right? We end up losing all of the money. I have to bear what? 50%. If we have nothing left, This guy with the skills doesn't need to pay anything. Alayhi salam. Does that make sense? What does he have to pay? They've both lost. Right? There's nothing left. Right? So if they want to restart again and they need a cash injection, they have to make another agreement now. If he's now willing to pay £10,000 to me and we continue like we did before with my skills, وهكذا, or he can turn around and he say, look, let's start again now with this business partnership. I give 10,000, I have my skills, but pay 5,000 on top of that. If I agree, then that becomes the business. Is that clear, brother? Lazid, you sure? 100%? Right, تفضل.
My question might open up a can of worms. May not be covered one hit.
Yeah.
Student loans.
Student loans, brothers. Sisters. Shall I tell you something, uncle? A couple of years ago, a brother messaged me and he said to me that his sister is doing her master's in Derby, and her dissertation is about what the scholars in Leicester hold with regards to student loans. Right? This was, I think, the title or the inwan of a thing. And I remember Sheikh Abdul Basit, right? They sat down with him and they asked me, and I ended up doing a Zoom meeting with her and her brother. You know how long it came up to? 2 hours. It was a 2-hour Zoom meeting, me speaking about the ins and the outs of how the whole student loan works and whatever have you, and alternatives. And even then, I didn't give them an answer. Because this is a fatwa that requires a body of scholars to come together and pass a ruling on. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? I can't give you an answer. The only thing that I can do, like I can't give you a haram and halal answer, but what I can do is provide you with a lot of alternatives and give different solutions for those who are looking for different ways out of the situation, right? But to say in within itself, the student loans is either halal or haram. Yani they agree that student loan itself is a riba-based kind of contract, but whether you can take it or not, this requires a body of scholars because of the situation that we're in, the place that we live in, right? Is it wise now to say that everyone needs to jump out of or drop out of university because of the situation, whatever have you? That is a fatwa, which I'm not going to perhaps issue. Right? Like I said, it requires a body of scholars to really sit down, study this, and so on.
Ustadh, where can we read that thesis that lady wrote?
I should expose her brother. Some of you guys may know him.
Okay.
I don't know whether she's published it. I'll find out and I'll let you guys know.
It's published, it'd be nice to read.
Yeah. I'll find out in one. If it hasn't been published, you can always go to Derby University and read it. That's how it works, right?
Published
know.
online.
Huh?
Published thesis online.
Yeah. I'll find out and inshallah ta'ala. And she got a very good mark as well. No. Sorry, bro. I have a question. I was about to say Sallallahu and then I pointed to him.
The kind of the example where you've got the cash person and the present skills, they profit £10,000, meaning they both have £5,000 profit each, isn't it? But then, because that person is the cash person, he's responsible for injecting cash, right? The person with the skills, he's got £5,000 profit. He can keep that to himself.
Yeah, keep it himself, yeah. But if they now put that back into the business and then there's the loss, it would have to be what? The loss would have to be shared proportionally. Does that make sense? And his skills, that's like already 50%. So if he put £5,000 back in and then they made a loss, right? And then that person also put in £5,000. And then we share the losses. How would that work out? Proportionally, huh? No. How would that work out? Sorry? They both put 5,000 in. If they've lost everything, there's nothing left to distribute amongst yourselves. However, if there's a partial loss, it would have to be what? 50-50. That's how it would basically be shared out. Does that make sense? Inshallah ta'ala, brothers and sisters, on well over the time. I know some of you guys are tired. Next week, we'll keep the questions, inshallah ta'ala, relevant to the topic. And a lot of these questions you guys are asking, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to, take it shwaya hakada. A lot of these masail we're going to be taking. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم